Welcome to Hamburg State Park Mill. The present-day mill was built in 1921 by George Gilmore Sr. It was operated privately from 1921 until the late 1960s to supply the corn mill products to the rural communities of our state. Presently, the mill is run by the state to preserve the natural history and to show people the process of grinding the corn into cornmeal. Today we're going to take you through the process of grinding the dried shell corn into cornmeal products that you can use and take home a bag of history with you. To start our grinding process, we'll take our dried shell corn from our storage room. This corn will be placed into the first hopper with a large screen that, as the corn passes through, will separate larger trash that may have been left in the corn when it was combined. As the corn passes through this screen, the large trash is left laying on top of the screen. Below the floor, there's a second screen that any small trash is separated from the corn. The corn is then picked up by a conveyor belt. As the corn is picked up by the conveyor belt that's housed inside of these chutes here, the corn is taken all the way to the third floor of the mill. Those cups will scoop the corn up. As it takes it up this side, take it upstairs, the corn is dumped out, transferred over into another hopper. It will bring it back down past the fan where other trash and dust will be blown out of the corn. A second conveyor belt then takes the corn to the third floor of the mill again and will bring the corn to the hopper directly above the stone. Once the corn reaches the hopper above the stone, it is shaken from the hopper by a vibration of the pan as the stone turns. As the stone turns, the corn will be shaken into the center of your top stone. Once it reaches your bottom stone, the corn is spread out between the two large stones. The stones will grind the corn into the cornmeal. The cornmeal will fill the box in front of the stone with cornmeal. Cornmeal is then bagged into bags by hands, taken over to our scales to weigh the bags, and tied and processed and ready to go for sale in our country store. Most people, when they see an old mill, expect to see a water wheel to power the mill. Here, when the mill was built in 1921, there was a water turbine installed because a water turbine is a lot more efficient to use than the water wheel. The turbine is located 18 foot below the top of the dam and is powered by water that's pulled off of the bottom of the lake rather than by water that's flowing over the dam. This is an older turbine that was replaced a few years back. The turbine has a handle that comes off of this gear here. As this handle is turned, we'll work the gears and we'll open each individual gate that's around the turbine. As the gates are open, the water will flow through the turbine, will catch into the runners that are on your turbine, and will spin the center part of your turbine. This is connected to a pulley on top of the turbine, has a 10-inch wide belt attached to it. When the handle is turned back in the opposite direction, the gates are then closed down and will stop the flow of the water going through your turbine. Once you stop the flow of the water going through your turbine, all of the power to the mill is then stopped. When the mill is in operation, only your top stone will turn. Your bottom stone will stay stationary. Your top stone is turned by a shaft that comes up through the bottom stone and is connected in with the top stone. Okay, as your top stone turns, there's a small space between the two stones, and this is where your corn is ground. After you grind a certain amount of corn, your stone will become smooth. It'll have a smooth surface on it. And to grind good, fine cornmeal, your stone needs to have a rough surface on it. So when this happens, we will have to take the stones apart to resurface the top and bottom stone and just put a rough surface back on the stone. This is done by taking the tongs and slipping into either side of your top stone and use a hand-turned winch to raise the top stone away from your bottom stone. Once the stone is completely raised, your top stone will be flipped over where you can see the face of your top stone, and then you can see the face of your bottom stone. Then you'll take a small hammer, looks like a meat tenderizer. This is the old-fashioned way of doing it. Would take somewhere between 2 to 3 days to sharpen a millstone or a pair of millstones. You would just basically have to go across the entire surface of the stone, putting a rough surface back on the stone. The easier way to do it now, it has an electric jackhammer. Hammer fits in the end of it. You go over the stone with the electric jackhammer. It's a lot quicker. You can take the stones apart, resurface the stones, and have it put back together in approximately 8 hours.